So today's topic is Max Verstappen and if he really deserves his recent second Drivers' Championship win. Studying what influence the recent events had on his win. Right now you're probably asking yourself why he would get disqualified, since at the end of the day, he personally did nothing wrong. And he'd be right to ask that. But even though Verstappen's driving skills and incredible abilities on track are completely undeniable, things have more than once been in his favour when it comes to regulating the sport. Let's now look at some examples to understand how he is treated in a more positive and benevolent way compared to his championship rivals. The easiest event where he should have been given a penalty but wasn't was at the start of the 2022 Singapore Grand Prix, when after one of the worst starts of his entire career, he willingly cut the first corner on track to not have to brake and yield to the Aston Martin, who was already turning ahead of him, gaining an advantage, bringing his car right next to said Aston and overtaking it in the next corner, in which he had the inside line. The FIA deemed his action regular and explained that there wouldn't have been any further investigations regarding the incident. That wasn't really right, to be completely fair, since if any driver at the front of the grid did anything similar, they would have gotten a penalty or at least a warning for exceeding track limits. But in this case, none of that happened. Another hot example is in the Japanese Grand Prix qualifying session. The circuit at the time was pretty much dry, so slicks were the best option. But some more humid patches were present on the track surface. The incident this time involved both Max Verstappen and Lando Norris. While the McLaren driver was on a flying lap after going through 130R at about 310 km an hour, he found Max Verstappen being a sitting duck just out of the racing line. When Norris completed the corner, Max did a sudden acceleration, losing the rear of the car on a wetter part of the track, risking an incredibly dangerous collision with Lando, who had to go on the grass aborting his flying lap to not get injured. After the session, the Red Bull driver was given a reprimand by the stewards. In this case, it's safe to say that the race direction turned a blind eye just because an accident between the two cars was avoided and there were no further problems caused by this episode. But it was thanks to Norris that the Red Bull driver got the pole position not taken away from him. If the McLaren hadn't gone on the grass and if the two touched a bit or even collided with one another, Verstappen would have surely gotten a grid penalty, starting some more positions back in the race or even from the pit lane if the team decided that after the crash they needed to replace the part of the power unit or the gearbox. Other penalties have been issued in the past for situations just like this one. Like in 2018 at the Brazilian Grand Prix, Hamilton forced Sirotkin on the grass while he was on a flying lap, action for which he got a reprimand. The situation in Japan was a little bit different though, since if Norris decided that he wanted to finish his lap trying to remain on the racing line and on track even though Verstappen did his maneuver and the two crashed, Max would surely not have won the championship in that round after taking a penalty. Of course, Max won the championship not only for his actions on track, but also thanks to what his team did back at the factory, which raised a lot of critiques from other teams and some fans. As we all know, the FIA recently revealed that both in 2021 and in 2022, Red Bull exceeded the budget cap. And even though part of that was because they offered free lunch to the workers back at the headquarters, it still gave them a competitive advantage. The report about the budget cap concludes that they are going to get fined by the FIA. And even though the team insists that they did not go over the spending limit and are considering appealing to the FIA, the fact that they gained an advantage over the other teams is pretty much obvious. So Max was helped by this throughout all of his career. It's safe to say that a driver with an incredible talent, a championship-winning car, and some luck here and there are a combo that no one can stop. So yes, he truly deserves this championship. Now it's your turn. Do you think Max Verstappen deserves the championship, or is it all just the car and luck? Do you think next year will be any different if Red Bull's budget gets lowered for the season? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe, because at 10,000 subscribers, we're going to create an F1 team with a crap car and hire Verstappen to see how he performs. No, not really, but you should subscribe anyway.